the thought of sitting down and learning a language was I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But in the end, I thought, right, I'm not going to have any more of these excuses. I'm going to wake up at 5, I'm going to spend an hour, and I'm going to study, and then I'll start my day. And you know what? The first 5 days was tough, and I was feeling pretty tired at the end of the day. But now, no way, I wouldn't change it for the world now. It's just one of the best decisions I've made this year is get up at 5 a.m.
Excellent.
And it's no problem at all. My dog hates it.
The dog's like, just leave me be and just leave me
alone. Just leave me alone.
Love it. So then with we'll move on now to you from your kind of personal processes and personal things like that to how you run your business. So you mentoring different people and working with different people from walks of life and all this kind of stuff. Your personal and your business processes must merge at some point. But is there Carl in work mode and Carl in personal mode? Is there a split? And if so, how do you get the most out of your business day? So for all our startups or entrepreneurs or people who are looking to start a business who listen to the show, what would be your tip to say, do this, get the most out of the day from a business point of view?
Well, I think usually because I've started 2 businesses while I've been in Korea, the biggest problem is usually at the start because it's very messy. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you have to get really good at prioritizing. And for me, like the productivity business, the number one priority for me was to get noticed.
Yeah.
And so when I started the productivity business, I was making sure I was putting content out on social media every single day. But that's because I identified that as the number one priority. And I think a lot of times people get stuck in focusing on things that are not really that important at the moment.
Okay.
And you need to get really good at being able to identify where you're strong and where you're weak. And if the weakness is something that's crucial, you need to get really focused on that pretty much throughout the day.
Okay.
And when you get there, that's how you can get your business to grow.
So you just mentioned that one key thing you mentioned then was social content. So you're huge on YouTube and the blog space. You're huge in blogging too. How do you think social has changed for businesses now who are trying to get noticed? You've done, like you mentioned before, you've done this a long time. So you've seen a gap in the market or seen a niche where you can say, if I do productivity videos this way or that way, I can kind of learn as I go because the industry is just emerging. How do you stay relevant now?
The funny thing is that people in the marketing world today, I think they have a really tough job because one thing I've noticed about social media, particularly social media marketing, is it's changing every month.
Yeah.
And you've got to change your content every month. And you've got to mix it up. And there isn't a formula that you can follow because I did a 3-way call with some good friends of mine recently on another YouTube channel. And we were talking about when are we going to post these videos? And we said, one of the guys said, 11 p.m. UK time is the best time. And I was thinking, well, that's interesting because I find a different time is the best time. Nice. And so I think sometimes we're getting a little bit too much into the analytics of things.
Yeah.
But if it's 11 p.m. this month, it won't be 11 p.m. next month.
No,
it'll be a different time. Yeah, it's just changing so rapidly. And, if your content's good, you'll get noticed. And you're going to throw out a lot of not good content.
Okay.
But eventually you'll find what actually resonates and what captures people's attention.
So that was another question then. Do you find that now you see a lot of people who will post content for the sake of posting content without actually understanding the value or the reason for said piece of content? So for you in your space, everything you do must add value at some point, whether it's a how-to guide, whether it's a process guide, whether it's talking the benefits of GTD and things like that. These are all valuable assets that you have. Your videos are never going to age in a sense because the systems and the process will all still be there. Do you see people in your niche who just post to be in a feed?
Well, I think there's a little bit. I mean, I've started my YouTube channel on Todoist and Evernote. That's where it all started. But from the learning experience for me, I learned that what you just mentioned there is things will actually date. So if you go back to my first Todoist videos, which is about three and a half years ago, it's completely out of date now because Todoist is evolving as well.
But you can update the content in terms
I do,
add another
which is great because it
element
and
recycle
add another video.
Content. Yeah. But the core content will stay the same.
Yeah, the core. That's why I've this year I've moved towards focusing more on the productivity side, less on the app side.
Yeah.
But that was again because I'm watching what's going on in the space, and that's to stay relevant in your own space, whatever space somebody's chosen. You have got to watch what's going on because it does change, and it changes very fast.
Okay, so then with that, the difference in content, the difference in market and posting times and relevancy and all these kind of things, what would you say is one of the most important things you've learned since launching your business and being involved with helping people and mentoring people and stuff like that? Is there a piece of advice someone's told you or a challenge that you've had and you thought, you know what, the penny's just dropped now? That's
the best advice I've got for really, and I learned this late, typically, but actually learn how to run a business. Now, what I mean by that, and I think we talked about this before we started recording, most particularly young entrepreneurs today, they are creators. They've got brilliant ideas, and most of them are really good at shipping and getting the product out the door or the service out the door. But the biggest problem that we have is we don't spend the time to learn how to run a business, how to understand the financials, because you can look at your revenue sheet and think, wow, I've made £100,000 this month. And then you look at your expenses and you spent £150,000 on marketing.
Yeah.
Your business is upside down. You got it wrong. And you need to be able to learn how to identify. I mean, that's an extreme example, but you need to be able to learn how to identify where those problems are. And you don't see them in the product. You don't see them in the ideas. They don't come up in the meetings. They are, the real hard, cold facts, which are in a spreadsheet. And you need to learn how to read that.
So you need to know how to run your business.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Okay.
I do it now.
Do you think people are seduced by that idea, though? Like, because there's so many people who, well, you can create a website in a couple of days. You can drop ship product from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world. Do you think people now are seduced by the idea of saying they are a businessman or they are an entrepreneur or they are whatever kind of terminology you want to use, and that they don't do that? They don't put a process in place. They're not taking in the right kind of information and processing the right kind of information. Do you think society now is seduced by that idea of, I own all of these things, but I have no idea?
It's partly, I think the problem is really more likely to be because of social media. People are posting the positive stuff. They don't actually post the negative stuff. And it's, I have an Instagram account and I follow a lot of Instagram influencers, essentially not because I really am interested in their content, more about what are they doing. And, you look at them and you think, well, they're not spending any time in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
They seem to spend all their time by the pool drinking champagne and driving Ferraris. I mean, but the reality is you're not seeing what's going on behind the camera. That's just one picture or one 10-second video.
Yeah.
And, the hard work that goes in to capture that picture and to do the deals that they're doing with the sponsors of the post, that's taking up 90% of their time.
Yeah.
And, those guys, I know Kim Kardashian is a role model to many people, and she's an incredible business. Well, all the Kardashians are incredible business people. I can guarantee that they can understand a spreadsheet.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah. But
There's
you
a
don't
reason.
see that in their, yeah, you don't see that part of it in their Instagram feeds or Facebook feeds or whatever. You, but they know how to monitor and run a business.
Okay.
And I think once people learn how to do that, it doesn't even go into night school. You can just Google accountancy and learn the basics. But um, you know, if you've got the basics and you can create, the right spreadsheets and monitor the right financials, you won't go far wrong.
Okay. So then, to kind of move on from that and see what's next. What is next for Carl Pullein in terms of productivity and the content you put out that, like you mentioned before, is always evolving. The space is always evolving. Is there something that is coming up, or there's content that you're looking at? Like you said before, you kind of updating a lot of content. What's next for you to add more value to the space?
Well, I have a 10-year plan, a 10-year goal, if you like, which is to replace Tony Robbins.
Oh, nice.
Well, Tony Robbins I think he's 57 this year, so he's
Yep.
still young enough, but he's going to retire one day. Somebody's going to have to replace him.
Okay.
So my goal is to replace him. And he does like workshops and seminars and big like 4-day events to 13,000 people. That was up until a couple of weeks ago, and he was in Moscow, and he did to 26,000 people in Moscow.
Wow.
So my goal has had to be adjusted. but that is where my target is. I love doing the online stuff. I love doing the YouTube videos, but I really enjoy the live stuff.
Yeah, that's one question you have done more. Speaking events, how are you? I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I take it they were on purpose. It was something you actively wanted to get involved with and experience. And how are they going from your point of view? Are you enjoying them? Is that some space that you like to be in?
That the weirdest thing for me is one of the reasons why I fell in love with teaching is because as a teacher you're on stage. You've got like 15, 20 people sat in front of you. You're stood up and you're teaching, and that part of it was what I loved. And being on stage and doing a presentation or doing some kind of workshop, teaching a group of people, face to face, not through the digital space, that is what I really, really love. So that's where my ultimate goal is being. So I sort of half jokingly saying I want to replace Tony Robbins, but when I say that, people understand where I'm going, what I want to do, because they see what he's doing. And, I might never do 26,000 people. That's fine. But next year, that's what I'm going to be focused more on is the workshops, the seminars, and that sort of thing, because it's the place that I love doing, and that's where my future is going to be over the next 10 years or so.
Do you have when you're doing the seminars? Have you experienced that moment where the penny does drop for people and they think, you know what, I didn't know what I was going to take from today, but that's the thing, or there's a process and it just kind of hits home now. If you do X, you can achieve Y. Do you get that kind of feedback when you with people, or is it after the event, or
you get it after the event? You get the emails like a few weeks later and saying, "Wow, this has changed my life."
Yeah,
and, those kind of emails. Yeah, those kind of emails I never delete.
Yeah,
because that's really what I'm in it for. Is I want to be able to change people's lives in a very positive way, and that's really what gives me the buzz. And so those emails, you get the feedback afterwards because people are usually a little bit unsure because they're having to change a habit of a lifetime, and which is why I generally leave them saying, "Look, just try it for a couple of weeks and see what happens." And most of them are pretty amazed at what happens to their productivity, organization, and they start planning, having a plan and having a goal, and all that does come into the world of productivity. And so that's where you get the real buzz.
Nice. Do you find people just on the back of that, do you find people jump on things like GTD without understanding the real purpose because someone in an office or a friend has said, "Oh, you need to do this thing," and they've kind of half interpreted and then they do add levels of complexity that they don't need. So when you come in and speak to them and kind